We'll fill for a minute. Um, I had something when I got up to go get tea. I was going to ask you guys to do this, just before we start thing that I cut out, except for the YouTube video.
Yeah.
And now I don't remember what it was.
Hmm.
I have a question for Mike that I've been
Hey,
meaning to ask him for a very long time. It is about Arena. It's the only time I'm going to ask about Magic, and it's not even on the show. Mike, are you enjoying Standard?
Mike doesn't play standard.
I'd almost never play, but on Facebook the other day, I happened to see a list, um, like a weirdo mid-range elemental list that Brian Kibler uh, was playing, and it looked really cool. So I built it, and it's entertaining. It's hard, especially since I'm doing best of one and not best of three, because ain't nobody got time for that. Um, I can tell it would be a lot better if I was able to sideboard in between games.
Was that
I
his
only
his
play
Pro Tour list?
Yes, I
Because I
think
saw
so.
he posted that.
Yeah.
I only play best of one as well. But just real quick, I have to say that current standard has frustrated me for a little bit, especially with some of the decks that are running around. But the other day, I had the single most satisfying experience in the world.
Oh yeah.
In the okay, sex is great, but very close to in the world. Um, Played against a mono green landfall, the most boring deck in the world
I
to
really
play
don't.
against,
Yeah, it's dumb.
and he got out a very quick cub and animated his forest, and
Hmm.
I drew the end,
Huh.
and I used it on it, and I got to strip every forest out of his deck. They left him with some evolving wilds and terramorphic expanses and all that, but no other forests. And it was beautiful. I He got that one back because
Uh-huh.
the way that Earth bending
Earthbending.
works,
Yeah.
but it was so satisfying. And it was like 30 forests, and I was like, "That's gone, that's gone,
That's
that's gone,
fantastic.
that's gone." It was, I slept well that night. So, I've been meaning to ask Mike about that, but I know that's to just fill the time. You should try it sometime. It's great.
I should. That's awesome.
That is not a small number.
This is me saying something, so that way we can make sure I'm on the recording and everything sounds good.
I just realized I had muted to eat ice and I didn't unmute. So hey, Odin Son with the 102-month resub. Thanks, buddy. That is not a small number, as Brian pointed out. I agreed with him, but I was muted, so you couldn't hear me.
Oh, whoops.
Okay, then, let's go. Here we go. Now, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 745 of the Mana Pool, and I'm Chewy. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, I'm Brian. I am the Tangent Master, and I'm here to talk today. Hey, guys.
I'm Mike. I'm the Magic Rules guy and Game Lore guy, and I'm also here to participate to the best of my ability. We'll see. I can't make any promises.
Mike did not do his homework, even after saying he was gonna.
I did some.
Oh, okay.
And I'm Dirk, the self proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And I say, ludicrous speed!
He's gone plaid.
Oh my god.
Does that mean
All
he's
right
a
then.
lumberjack?
So, because we're already starting, it's way later than I thought it was. Let's get to it. So,
Yeah.
on the Dorks Just Chatting episode from Oh, let's see here. The end. Oh, the end of last year. That I entitled "Assorted Nostalgia," because that ended up being what we did the whole episode. At some point in there, ow, that was my elbow. We got off into like video game collections. Remember
Hmm,
this?
maybe.
Think
And
so,
how
vaguely.
we talked about other video game like franchises that we wish they would package up and like sell as a
Yes.
single thing.
Oh, yeah.
And in there somehow I went off on smashing franchises together, and we talked about Super Mario crossover and stuff like that because I love that sort of thing. And this week, this was not my idea. This was Brian's idea. But
Yeah.
Brian was like, "Let's talk about like media crossovers."
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh."
And by media, that can certainly include games. And from a little bit of pre show discussion, games are absolutely going to be a significant portion of this, I think. But it could be anything at all. And corporate synergy is a thing. It's existed since the guy who made, sharp rocks and the guy who made the long sticks were like, but if we put these together,
Oh my,
then
we'll
we
be
can make
unstoppable.
we'll be unstoppable. We'll be way better than either one of us alone. So it's existed for a long time. I'm actually going to open us up with a little factoid. I did do research for the last couple days, and there are disagreements about technically what the first crossover is because it depends on how you define it. However, the very first TV crossover, some people were saying was in the 80s. The earliest I could find was, and I quote, Lucy and Superman in January of 1957. And
Bruh.
now I feel like I have to go see that.
Like
I,
Lucille
I read
Ball,
about that.
Lucy?
Yeah, I love Lucy.
Lucille
I read
Ball.
about that when
Yeah.
I was reading about TV stuff. It was like, so the thing was, there's some stuff going on with some kids in the neighborhood having a birthday party, and Lucy and Ricky wanted to throw their kid a nice birthday party too. So they tried to arrange for someone to come play Superman, but they couldn't. So Lucy ended up like trying to do it herself with a real crummy Superman costume. But that didn't work out, and through a series of misadventures, she ended up like stuck on a ledge or on the roof of the house or something. And Ricky, through his entertainment connections, was able to get, oh no, I can't remember the man's name, um, who played Superman on television.
George Reeve?
Yes, George Reeve.
Sorry, Reeves. Yeah.
Yeah, George Reeves. So George Reeves shows up, but like everyone is calling him Superman. It's like it's unclear whether he's supposed to be Superman or whether he's supposed to be George Reeves, and like maybe that was on purpose, um, so that like the parents watching the show would be like, "Ah, it's George Reeves," and like kids who are watching the show would be like, "Oh my gosh, it's Superman!" But yeah, so
That's kind of brilliant.
That's
George
awesome.
Yeah.
Reeves shows up and
Yeah.
saves Lucy, and
So this is not a new concept, but at the same time, it's really been interesting to see how it's been implemented. Certain companies that we may or may not mention or get to or whatever have leaned really into this concept to the point and I pose this question in the text, and we'll see if how much of this we cover. How much is too much? How much of a saturation is too much? Just as an example, like the whole multiverse thing, a couple of years ago, it was like, oh, that's kind of more of a novel concept, and now it's like, are we done with that now? Because it just feels like it's the answer to everything is, oh, it's another universe. So, are we at a saturation level for crossovers? Will we ever be? And will we ever stop doing them? Probably not, because I do think that there's a part of us that inherently loves this concept who as a kid in the 80s did not secretly wish that Lion-O would show up with G.I. Joe? I mean, come on. And I think we may have mentioned this on that other just chatting that Chu was mentioning, Smash Brothers was Super Smash Brothers was everybody's dream. Just like, come on, all the Nintendo characters, are you kidding me? This was the end goal all along. So, yeah. But we're going to have a discussion about it. And Chewy, whereas I just kind of made a list, I broke it down by genre, TV shows, movies, books, even some food items, which we'll get to that. Chewy
What?
took a more. Hey, I'm telling you, Chewy took a more analytical approach. Chewy, do you want to kind of break that down for everybody?
Yeah, so I love to categorize things. In case you can't tell, anytime we do one of these broad topic shows, I'm always trying to come up with some sort of framework to fit everything in.
Mhm.
And for those of you listening to this, it's not going to be like hard to grasp, but for those of you watching, it'll be a lot easier because I have come up with a 2-axis uh, spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a tier list, but So the two axes, the horizontal axis, no, the vertical axis is simple. It's either properties that are related, like when Superman shows up in a Batman comic,
Mhm.
and properties that are unrelated, like when Superman shows up in a Spider-Man comic. That's the two easiest things, the two easiest examples I could think of. Things that fall under some sort of umbrella that makes sense.
Yeah. I like this metric.
And
then on the other axis.
well, we're not done yet. Like,
Okay, sorry.
Still in comics, my favorite example is Archie Meets the Punisher, which was a real thing.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Sadly, I never actually got my hands on it to read it, but from what I understand, it's actually really good.
That sounds amazing.
But yeah, this was the thing. When was that? What? Archie Meets the Punisher was from 94. Good God.
Wasn't he like hunting a serial killer or someone who happened to look exactly like Archie? Something like that.
I honestly have no idea. Sounds good though. I love the cover though. It looks like a standard Archie cover because it's a dance. It's the Riverdale High sock hop, and you can see Archie and Veronica dancing, and in the background, Josie and the Pussycats are playing on the stage, and then in the foreground is the Punisher standing there with a gun. And there's a little speech bubble over Archie that said, "I knew there'd be a chaperone, but this is ridiculous."
Jeez.
So yeah, that is
Wow.
my favorite example of unrelated properties crossing over because it's so completely ridiculous. But then the other axis is a more of a spectrum. So on the one end you've got the reference, the cameo, the brand deal. Like one of the things Brian mentioned when he pitched this idea was the Monopoly, all the billions of different flavors of Monopoly boards.
Yes.
And those all get lumped over in the branded deal. Not Marvel, Magic and its Universes Beyond thing. That's all just a branded thing because they're still Magic cards. They just happen to have names and art of other stuff. So that's all just branding.
Yeah.
And then, cameos are just that when in the background of something you see, oh, hey, and it's gone,
Yeah.
Think Ready Player One was an entire movie of just cameos. Like, hey, look, there's
It-
RoboCop. Oh, he's gone. Hey, look, there's the Iron. Hey, there's Tracer from Anybody remember Overwatch? That was the thing.
Yeah, Ready Player One, I actually really enjoyed. Some people are very pure and like, it wasn't good or whatever. It was cameos, the movie, mostly 80s, but some other stuff too. If you know that going in, I can't see how you could be upset because it's cameos the movie. If you don't want to see cameos the movie, don't. But anyway, that's its own thing. So
And then
yeah,
the
cameos.
the other end of the spectrum is like the full like mashup. Like Super Smash Brothers is the full mashup. It's all of these things all just slammed into one. And in between those, we've got like Archie Meets the Punisher. I would consider that as I couldn't come up with better names for these, so if anyone has something better, by all means throw it out. But like the simple or the one shot, Archie Meets the Punisher was a single comic, and then it was over. And that was it. And then you've got what I termed the extended crossover, like the Crisis on Infinite Earths, and that works for the comic series from the 80s or for the Arrowverse TV shows, because it was a full like length thing that had a whole lot of different things crossing over.
Yeah, it did.
So yeah, that's the spectrum. You got cameos into the one-time things, into the slightly longer things, into the full everything's all mashed together. Chat goes, would you consider Who Framed Roger Rabbit as a crossover? Well, yeah, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
It would go, okay, hang on. So we've got our handy little oh no, how did I duplicate was over here? Excuse me, hang on. I'm trying to work out how to do this. So, Roger Rabbit. Did that change the name? It did not. Hurt. Roger Rabbit. There we go. So Roger Rabbit is related properties.
Sort of. It
Well,
mixes
they're all
Warner Brothers
cartoons.
stuff. Yeah.
So
They are all cartoons, but it's also Disney.
It's Disney and Warner Brothers and.
Hanna-Barbera.
So
Yeah.
okay, it would be on sort of on the line, like closer to unrelated properties, I guess.
Yeah. Just because if we're calling Marvel and DC unrelated, then
Yeah.
this is
Mm-hmm.
So where would is that an extended thing? Is that a full mashup? Because like the other thing that I couldn't figure out how to work in was how integral it is to the story, or like what's the point?
Yeah.
Like with Roger
Yeah,
Rabbit,
it matters that they're cartoons, but they're not like in their own homes. It's like them living alongside people in the real world and having real world problems.
yeah.
But it is really kind of baked into the concept. Like it is not incidental.
So would that go under an extended thing or a full mashup?
At least extended. Maybe toward the top end of about where you got it.
Yeah, maybe like here somewhere.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so it's sort of in the upper right corner of the extended crossover, and it's on
it's
the
not like-
unrelated property side of the line and on the extended crossover side of the line.
Yeah, because it's like not about Mickey and Bugs having an adventure. They just happen to be there.
Yeah, they're just there.
Mhm.
It's extended cameo. So yeah, there's our first thing on the list is Who Framed Roger Rabbit, thanks to the chat.
Nice.
There you go.
So yeah, that's the framework that I came up with. And again, I couldn't. If you guys think of better words for simple and extended, then by all means, let me know. But other than that, I think this gives us a nice place. And as we come up with stuff, we'll throw them on the spectrum here.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good to me.
Ouch. So like for instance, Smash Brothers, we already mentioned. Smash Brothers is related properties because they're all Nintendo games.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, they're not all actually. There's all kinds of characters and whatnot that don't belong to Nintendo. So I guess that would actually end up sitting sort of on the line again, closer to unrelated properties. Because other than being all,
they don't belong to Nintendo, but they were on Nintendo platforms.
It started very strictly Nintendo, but then once they added like Cloud and Sephiroth and Sora and even Solid Snake, right?
yeah, there are a bunch of things that have either never been on a Nintendo thing, or have only ever been there like back in the day, like Solid Snake. You know, the original Metal Gear was on the NES, and then there was the GameCube version of Metal Gear Solid, and that's pretty much it. Everything else has been not Nintendo. Oh, and that still says Laugh Olympics. For God's sake, does anyone remember the Laugh Olympics?
Was that a Hanna-Barbera thing?
It was. They took all of the old Hanna-Barbera well, maybe not all of them, because there were, if you can think of like 24 Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and you probably could if you even stop to think for just a few minutes and you're of the appropriate age, there's probably another dozen that you've never heard of. Possibly more. But yeah, they took a bunch of their old cartoon characters that they weren't really using anymore, and they made a great big mashup cartoon called the Laugh Olympics, where the various similar characters were like all put on teams. Like a bunch of the canine characters were all on one team, like Hong Kong Phooey and Scooby Doo. You know. See, Wacky Racers, I don't think was a mashup. I think it was just its own thing. And some of those characters ended up in stuff like the Laugh Olympics, I think. I have to admit, I'm not super up on my Wacky Racers lore.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of like where else the character Snidely Whiplash was from, and I'm like, I don't think he was from anywhere else.
I think he showed up in the Laugh Olympics, but so did everyone else.
Well, yeah.
Captain Caveman, freaking the Blue Falcon, and whatever his idiot dog buddy's name was. Dynamut? No, not Dino. What was his name? Yeah, Dynamut. D-Y-N-O. I think. Anyway, I loved the Laugh Olympics. It was on like the USA Network when I was a kid, and I would watch the hell out of it. And I recognized a bunch of them because USA had all of the Hanna-Barbera stuff. The Cartoon Express. Anybody remember this? I'm old.
I was wrong. That wasn't Snidely Whiplash. The character's name was Dick Dastardly.
Yeah, Snidely Whiplash was the Mountie. Freaking
yes.
Yeah. I can.
Dudley Do-Right.
Yes.
Dudley Do-Right. Yes.
Yeah. But I was just gonna let that go because I couldn't remember what his name was. Dick Dastardly, yeah, and Muttley. Everyone loves Muttley. You could play as Muttley in an NES game. Was it Wacky Races? I can't remember. Anyway. So, Dirk, you haven't said anything in a while.
Yeah.
What? Let's talk about something of yours. What you got? Never mind, Dirk walked away. Or is muted.
Dirk.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
So one I had told the guys earlier was Minecraft.
Yeah,
So
and when he said that, I
Minecraft,
was like, Dirk, do you even understand what we're doing this episode?
yes, I had muted and everything because I've been just I didn't want to interrupt all the time with the clearing of the throat. So, but Minecraft was one that was on mine, and the reason is not because of the game mechanic or anything like that. It's because Mojang is always doing these skins promotions where you can get the Frozen skins, or there was one that was the Dragon Ball Z skins, and there was Mega Man skins at one point. So you can get skins for your Minecraft characters. So that was one that I had put down, and so that one, like I said, it's Chewie's already done where that skin is absolutely not related whatsoever to the game, and it's just there as a cosmetic thing. It doesn't have any effect on the gameplay other than your character looks like someone you spent money on.
Yeah, and like, you know what? I'm even gonna change this. Not even Minecraft skins, just like video game skins, because this is a thing across like any sort of game. Like Fortnite has made $1 billion or more off of just selling skins and emotes,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and Minecraft, freaking Overwatch had skins based on the other who made Blizzard, there we go, the other Blizzard properties. Like
I
any sort of
remember
game that has a cosmetic thing is probably selling skins in some way, and eventually it'll get to the point where it's selling uh skins based
Skins and
on,
not the game.
yeah, other stuff. I mean, Dirk, you brought up another one before the
Heroes
show.
of the Storm.
No, another one that was just skins. What was it?
World of Warships.
Like what? World
World
of
of Warships
Warships
is
is a game about naval combat,
you,
right?
correct.
And what have they got going right now, you said?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
What?
'Cause when
So
I
like
think of,
right now you can
when
get
I think of warships, I think of Leo.
so yeah, I'm gonna see what I'm gonna. So right this instant, they are doing a overlay with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So for example, a battleship, the turrets would have turtle shell textures to them, and the opposing side would have shredder, like the cannons themselves have shredder's claws at the ends.
That's freaking funny.
And so they're colored, skinned, all that to go with whatever's going on. So, like I said, right now they're like at the very top. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and World of Warships. But I remember they did a Star Trek one at one point. They did, like, I'm looking through the history and everything. They did an anime one. Yeah, they just do stuff of that. The World War Halloween overlay. Yeah, it's like that's the one thing that they like to do is just do an overlay with something else.
It's the entire product.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that that's kind of what pulls people in is, oh man, Dragon Ball Z, I want to do that and get a ship that's got that color and everything. And I assume that, and I have no idea. Leighton was the one who liked to play it, and um, his thing, like he played one where everything was like steampunk themed, and I have no idea if you can buy the skins and keep them, or if it's a you have to play this game now so you can have the skins and play because after this time the skins go away, and I have no idea because I told him I wasn't spending any money on it. He could play, but I wasn't spending money, and so I have no idea if you can buy the skins. I assume the answer is yes,
Good lord.
but I have no idea. Yeah, there's some sort of anime one they did at one point. I don't even know what the name of this. Azure Lane, and Azure Lane is apparently what it was called.
Is that an anime?
Apparently, it's an anime.
Oh,
I have no
okay.
idea. It's got girls in scantily clad clothes, either giant robot type of clothes like Evangelion type, or in scantily clad clothes. So go
I
with your
think we
pick.
figured out
It's
what
That's an
he
anime.
likes about it, guys.
general anime.
Yeah.
I think I've cracked the code. Is it for the gameplay or is it for the gameplay?
Oh, we
The
call that
plot.
fan service in those circles.
If it's tasteful, yes. Otherwise, we just call it, is the word gooner? I know I mentioned, and Dirk mentioned, I wanted to bring up Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm is this interesting thing where it's on the surface, it's like Smash Brothers. It's all the Blizzard properties, but another big part of it is the skins.
Mhm.
You can get characters like Diablo and play with your team of Diablo and who's the good guy from StarCraft? Jim
Jim
Raynor.
Raynor.
Yeah, and Ragnaros. But you can also get a skin that turns Ragnaros into like a Chihuahua. So it's kind of a combination of the two.
I loved it when Stitches, who is from Diablo, right? No,
Yeah.
he's from Warcraft.
No, he's from Warcraft. Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
abomination
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, I loved when Stitches got a Roadhog skin from Overwatch because they both, their thing is the hook where they shoot out the hook and grab someone and pull them to them. Sort of like Scorpion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Get over here. And when
That's
he
great.
got a Roadhog skin, I was like, I'm now Stitch's main. Like,
Yeah. So
because
this is
Roadhog
this
was
is
one of my favorite. He was my favorite tank in Overwatch, and it wasn't close.
So with this, and one of the things I did like about Heroes of the Storm, and I played Heroes of the Storm for a while, was that it could be free to play as long as you had patience, as long as you were willing to play the events, which, hey, that was kind of, for me, the reason to play.
Mhm.
Um, and the other stuff, the stuff you bought, was either to acquire characters faster or strictly cosmetics, which I did appreciate that.
Sure.
But
I can't
so again,
remember how it worked because at some point it went like completely they overhauled everything and I don't remember how it worked before or after because I now haven't played HOTS in years.
Mhm.
I introduced you to it and you played it longer than I did. Um,
It was what Gothic and I would do. We would hop on a call and like hop into a game of HOTS and then just shoot the breeze for like 2 hours. It was awesome. Oh, I miss Gothic.
Oh.
Where would that go? Is that
that's
that's a
tricky.
mashup, right?
It is totally a mashup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
It's
feel like
close to
it
Smash
would go
Brothers.
closer to the related properties on the line.
Yeah,
And it would be,
Yeah.
it's related properties, and I would say it's a full mashup.
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Because
it
that's the whole
was.
point of the game is you get to pick who you want to play.
Yeah, the
And
whole point
even
was
this,
it was Smash Brothers, but with only Blizzard
Blizzard
characters.
stuff.
yeah. And again, even the like skins and stuff you would get, I'm pretty sure were mostly of other Blizzard characters. So
Yeah,
it was cross promotion on a pretty grand scale.
and it did make me interested in playing stuff like StarCraft until I gave up on Blizzard as a company. I still own all of those games, like in BattleNet. I should probably actually play the StarCraft games at some point. The single player
Mhm.
stories, campaigns. That's the word.
That is the word.
So let's see. What about
StarCraft is really fun. Go ahead.
What about some something that goes in simple?
So simple, like a cameo, like a one shot sort of thing. So get this.
That's two different things,
Um.
but yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. So simple. You want something that's simple, not a cameo.
There you go.
Hmm.
So I was just about to write it down, and then Brian threw
Sorry.
me off by saying something dumb.
What?
Oh,
What would qualify something as being simple without just being a cameo?
well, because a cameo doesn't matter. Like a cameo is just a reference. Like, oh, hey, look, there's something in the
Oh, I
background
see.
over there.
Um,
But like, I'm
let's
thinking
see.
like like sitcoms.
I
Like
was just
so
I was just
many.
about to say, would
Oh.
would a method of spinning off TV shows?
I think so, yeah,
Yeah.
which is where I
Yeah.
was about to go. Oh my God,
Okay.
Mike, get out of my head.
I had a category in my list. I put quote unquote same universe shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, because Angel was
That's a good
introduced
one.
as a character on Buffy, and then after season 3, Angel got his own show. So something like that.
Probably not. That would probably be more an extended, because didn't they still have ramifications in each show?
They did. There were multiple crossovers, and the events of one show would have an impact on the other show. Yes.
Okay.
Where did that where did that empty spot
What
just
about?
go?
Do you remember the TGIF shows like Urkel and Step by Step and
Yeah, they had a couple of cameos between each
what?
other. Like there were
Once
there were a
ABC
couple
was
of
bought
times.
out by Disney, yes, occasionally there were times where they would intrude. But unlike the ones I just mentioned, it was not an ongoing thing. It was more just like, oh, the dad from Urkel might show up on Sabrina the Teenage Witch or something.
And yeah,
What was that block
Interestingly
called?
enough, it was called TGIF. Thank goodness it's funny.
Yep.
That's what it was, because that was all of those were somehow related to each other, weren't they?
Yeah,
Like they would cameo each other.
they did every once in a while just to kind of you know kind of goose people's interest. So Family Matters was a spin-off of Perfect Strangers.
yeah.
Harriet Winslow was a character in Perfect Strangers, an elevator operator at the office that Larry and Balky worked at, and then Carl would show up every once in a while. But they were popular characters, so they ended up getting their own show. And yeah, there were a couple times where Steve Urkel from Family Matters got into some antics, or just was around for no real reason, and ended up showing up on another show. Like I know he was on an episode of Full House. He did something silly at the end of an episode of Family Matters and ended up crashing into a scene in an episode of Step by Step. There were probably a couple of things like that too.
Yeah, like a bunch of the sitcoms that people think fondly on either were or had spin-offs. Like the longest lasting one I think that anyone our age was around for was Cheers
And Frasier.
and Frasier.
Yep.
Like Kelsey Grammer played Frasier for something like 30 years across those two shows.
Yeah.
But there's also like the Golden Girls. They had a spin-off show called Empty Nest. Anybody remember this?
I forgot Empty Nest was a spinoff of Golden Girls.
Yeah, they like, and the way these work is that like the main show will have an episode with all of these characters as what's called a backdoor pilot. And see how audiences react to it, and then if audiences seem to like it, then they'll do like an actual pilot of their own show. And like Empty Nest went for something like 5 or 6 seasons.
Yeah, it's rare for them to go on very long.
And
Usually
then
you get
Empty
something
Nest
that
had
only
its
lasts a
own
little while.
spin-off
Hmm.
called Nurses, which I didn't know that. I'd forgotten about that entirely until I was looking stuff up earlier, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that show. But like all of the Golden Girls would just occasionally appear in Empty Nest as a reminder, and the main character, Harry, I want to say, would show up in the occasional episode of the Golden Girls or Golden Palace or whichever. Because don't forget, the Golden Girls had a spinoff, or not a spinoff show, a sequel show called Golden Palace, where they all were running a hotel, apparently. But Happy Days had spinoffs. Joni Loves Chachi, wasn't that a Happy Days thing?
Yeah. Mork and Mindy had a Happy Days connection too, right?
Yeah, I think Mork showed up in an episode of Happy Days after the shark jumping.
Oh
Hey.
man,
Hey.
this won't be synonymous with a show that's lasted too long.
I watched a video about
Forever.
that actually not long ago, and the whole jumping the shark thing was not when Happy Days turned over. That's just when some internet nerds in the 90s decided that's when the show got bad. But the show kept going strong for like a very long time after the shark jumping thing.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't like a desperate grab for ratings for an ailing show. But that's just the term now. Jump the shark.
That is the term that has been used now. I'm not saying it was at the time, but it's been used now.
But chat says Eureka and Warehouse 13. I did not watch either of those, so I'll just shrug and go, probably.
Are those shows? I don't want to sound bad. I'm not familiar with those. So.
Yeah, I've never seen any of
Eureka
those.
and Warehouse 13 were awesome.
Were they related?
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
they were
okay.
both on Sci-Fi.
That'd probably be why. So, do we think these are falling under simple?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they're
Mm-hmm.
one-shot things, and then they spin off into their own. And they might occasionally have a crossover episode here or there, or a character will appear in the other show. But by and large, they're completely separate.
Yeah.
What would be an example of something that is simple but unrelated? I think that's kind of tough.
Oh, that's the Archie and the Punisher.
Okay.
Or
I would almost say that that's any spin-off between a DC and Marvel.
yeah,
thing.
I was just about to say,
no.
I used to collect in the 90s. Marvel and DC had this thing where they would love to do like one-shot stories. Like I've got a stack.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Hang on. Be right back.
I think I have one that would fall under unrelated properties but simple.
Let's see here.
I think
I've
I have
got
one too.
Batman and Grendel.
think
I got 3 Batman and Judge Dredd. I got Spawn and Batman Spawn. Superman and Aliens, that was mentioned in chat before. That was a trip. Punisher and Batman. Batman and Punisher. A different Grendel and Batman. Darkseid versus Galactus the Hunger. Featuring the Silver Surfer and what's his name? Orion. Green Lantern and Silver Surfer and Superman, Batman and Spider-Man. I loved these things when I was a kid, obviously, because I have all of the.
So many of them.
So, spoiler alert for Mike, who's not finished Supernatural yet and is like 20 seasons behind. But there is an episode in either season 14 or season 15 where they end up, the brothers that are the subject of the show end up actually living out an animated Scooby-Doo episode. Apparently, everyone on board had
That's
the most
amazing.
fun ever making this episode. it was a blast. So it is a supernatural Scooby Doo crossover. That would be two unrelated properties for one episode. So would that qualify for this?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
All right. I got one for you. King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yes, I had that on the list too.
Completely unrelated, except for the fact that they are giant monsters who like to break stuff. But they get together for one movie to throw hands at each other. And it's awesome. I mean, there's been more than one King Kong versus Godzilla movie, but it's not like they're not like a series. It just happens one at a time.
What about Freddy versus Jason?
Yeah. See, there's another
That's
one.
a good one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I say
Anytime
Alien
you've
versus
got
Predator as well.
what was that?
Mm-hmm.
Alien versus Predator.
See, I would argue that one has moved over into extended.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
at this
because they've
point,
kind of become the same universe now.
Well, no, just
I-
because even before all of that, like there were there were so many different comic series about it, and it had multiple games over the years. Even though there was no like official thing, there was so much of the supplemental stuff that kept smashing Aliens and Predator together that when they finally did do a movie, it wasn't good because the expectations were so high.
I think they have been folded into essentially the same universe, so permanently.
And even another old extended one that's related properties. It's the old Universal horror monsters.
Yes. Which now they've tried to do
That's
like a
right.
dark universe or something, and it didn't. But
But like they all had they did the cinematic universe, well before Marvel, because back in the day they had their Draculas and their Wolfman and their Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein and so many of these movies, and then they had a series of like monster mashes,
Yeah.
House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula, where you had all of them like showing up and all being in the same story. And horror nerds and kids and whatnot back in the day loved that because of course they did. We still love stuff like that today.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
I love most of the stuff we've talked about so far.
Right. There's another one that I love very much. It's Marvel versus Capcom.
I knew we were going to get to that at
Mhm.
some point. So I was doing the research for this. I had this idea on Tuesday, and I've been kicking around in my head since Monday. You know what? You know what went up on Secret Galaxy like a couple hours ago?
Oh no, I haven't looked at my subscription feed.
The history of Marvel versus Capcom.
Hey,
And
look at
I'm
that.
like, the universe is aligning.
I have loved the Marvel vs. Capcom series all the way up until whatever the bad one was. Infinite? Is that what it was called?
Was that the one with Ultron Sigma?
Maybe?
I feel like that one wasn't. I haven't played any of them in a long time, but I feel like that, from what I heard from the internets, I heard that one wasn't terribly well received.
But it is. So for those that don't know, Capcom, they were doing the Street Fighter games. Street Fighter 2 was a sensation that rocked the video game industry to its core, and suddenly everybody was making
Mhm.
fighting games. as we now
Yeah.
know them. And then they made the Street Fighter Alpha games, which had a different art style. And they sort of took that art style and applied it to other properties. Like they made the X-Men arcade fighting game, which was amazing. And then they did Marvel Superheroes, which was like X-Men, but crossed over with other Marvel stuff. And then they did... I think it was X-Men versus Street Fighter was the next one.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which took, X-Men from the X-Men fighting game and Street Fighter characters in more of a Street Fighter Alpha style, art style. And that was stupidly popular. So then I think they did, was it Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter?
I don't remember if there was an intermediate step.
I don't either. Hang on. I have the internet. I can look. Okay. X-Men versus Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter in 97. And then in 98, they made Marvel versus Capcom. Clash of Superheroes. Then in 2000, they did Marvel versus Capcom 2. And then they stopped. No.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was epic.
It was so good. And like untouched. It was 11 years before the next one came out. And that was Fate of Two Worlds. Which was not as good, but still wasn't, I don't think, horribly hated. And then in 2017 they made Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, where you could tell that like Marvel was giving them too much input. Like there were no X-Men characters because Fox owns the X-Men characters and we don't want to promote that. Like, you own the X-Men characters. Yeah, but they own the movies.
Yeah.
And the game just wasn't very good. And then in 2024, the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection came out that collected all of these except for, all of them up to 2. And it's so good. Chat says, how does the appearance of SNK characters such as Terry Bogard in Street Fighter? How does
it affect it, maybe?
Probably.
But
I mean, that's just another...
That's making it more diverse.
Yeah. Terry Bogard has become a bit of a whore lately. He's in Smash Brothers. He's in Street Fighter 6. Like, damn, dude. Does he even have his own games anymore? Is SNK still making Fatal Fury games? I don't actually know. Well, I know SNK isn't. That's a bummer. But is somebody making Fatal Fury games? I don't know. Now I gotta go look. Thanks, Internet. Games. Here we go. Fatal Fury City of the Wolves came out in April of last year. Oh.
Neat.
The last one before that was Garou, Mark of the Wolves in 1999. Oh. All right, then.
So, no, they weren't doing anything.
Yeah, they were not. Damn.
So, got a couple more items on the list, but only when you're ready.
Oh, yeah, go for it. We're just sort of vamping now.
So, again, these are not necessarily in the labels that you've given them. So, honestly, I'm going to throw out a couple here, and I want you to tell me where they are. Looking at movies, we've already talked about King Kong versus Godzilla and Freddy versus Jason, but I have on here one more item on my movies list. Get this, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
That was such a bad movie.
It was not
such
good. Poor Sean Connery.
Comic series.
Yeah. So based off a comic book series, but that itself pulled inspiration from literary characters.
Yeah. For those that don't know, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. You know what? I'm not going to type all that out. was a bunch of public domain. I don't know where to put that actually. It was a bunch of public domain, like old hero characters across various genres. So you had Alan Quartermain, who was your like prototypical Indiana Jones. He's who Indiana Jones was based on.
Yeah, actually, prototypical.
Yeah, because he came first.
Yeah.
You had the characters from Frankenstein and Dracula, the books. You had Jekyll and Hyde. James Bond was in the well, I don't know if the name James Bond was used, but someone heavily implied to be James Bond, I think, was in the comic series. Sherlock Holmes?
At least the villain from Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Just any sort of old public domain like character that they could think of.
Yeah.
They who wrote LXG, the LXG comics? I don't remember. It's one of the big names, but I always get them confused. No, not the film. Oh my god. Comic. Alan Moore. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, him. He never did anything.
So here we go. We've got Mina Harker, Alan Quartermain, Captain Nemo, Jekyll and Hyde, The Invisible Man, Orlando from a novel by Virginia Woolf.
Dorian Gray
or Roland. They're listed together, so I guess they were the same character. The Frankish military leader under Charlemagne. Thomas Carnacki, who is an occult detective from 1910. A.J. Raffles, a character created by the brother-in-law of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Huh. And Emma Knight. Oh, from the Avengers, like the British spy series, The Avengers.
Not the other, yeah.
That's cool. And that was apparently the first batch or something. I'm not entirely sure. The way this is set up on the Wikipedia page, it's like you know who these people are, or you know the setup already. But yeah, Campion Bond, who is, not James Bond at all. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But anyway, yeah. Oh, there's a gang war between Fu Manchu and Professor Moriarty. Oh my god, I need to read this.
Cool.
This follows events that take place after the fall of the Big Brother government from George Orwell's 1984. What? I've got to read this.
I'm getting some serious like V for Vendetta vibes, but
What? All right. Anyway,
so
let me close
yeah,
that.
this is a crossover, like by every stretch of the imagination.
So like, whoops. So like, this is what I would refer to as a. There we go. As an extended one, I guess.
I think so.
Of
Why not
unrelated property.
If not full, yeah.
Why wouldn't it be full?
I guess it probably would, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
If you're
because the whole
talking
point
like
is
just
like
the movie, then it's we'll just call it. But we're not. We're talking everything. That's a full ass mashup. That is some man. Okay. Anyway,
I'm telling you, that was one of the first things I thought of when I was thinking about this concept was this comic book series and later movie. Poor Sean Connery. Was
Yeah, it
he
was so
Sir Sean
bad that
Connery? Was he ever knighted or?
I
Yeah,
don't remember.
pretty sure.
was
Yeah,
he?
thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned the Magic Universes Beyond. I just realized I didn't put it on the board.
You know, I didn't want to get into all the Magic stuff because it's basically a series of crossovers now. You know what one I did put on my list?
What?
Hot Pockets.
What?
Hot Pockets. You could buy Hot Pockets and get like a Gideon. You don't remember this?
Oh my
Yeah,
god!
there was a short-lived promotion.
Yep. So it was on my
I
list.
had forgotten all about that.
I told you I had a couple food items on here. And the only time I thought of Magic the Gathering was Hot Pockets. Although actually it's funny. One of the other items on my food list, believe it or not, is one of the most iconic ones that the second I say it, you're gonna be like, yeah, Wheaties.
And athletes, yeah.
And athletes.
Oh yeah. Where would that go?
Either reference or simple.
Simple related.
Because it's not a specific person. But it was consistent. But each person, I don't know if anybody ever, I'm sure somebody was on a Wheaties box more than once. But I wonder if it would be reference.
Yeah, that I feel like Wheaties is because it's just a picture on a box.
Yeah.
But that would that be related properties? Yeah,
I mean,
No.
it's cereal and athletics.
it's cereals and athletes, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's a little bit like, cross promotion for Gatorade, but I would say unrelated.
Damn,
I don't know
that's
where you
eerie.
put Hot Pockets, but
Yeah, things that are just pure marketing promotions, it gets a little dodgy as to about whether to say it could really be a crossover.
Chat brought up the F and M&Ms, which Bill told us on the thing we did last week, which is up on YouTube now, on the Manapool's YouTube channel. It is absolutely not M&M is the title. I don't remember if he mentioned that during the show or before it, but Bill found his F and M&Ms. And we were like, did we? And I think Clues asked him if he ate it, and I think Bill might have said something rude.
that's an investment.
So, okay, we've got a big empty spot here with the related properties and reference. This would be... let's see, how do we... Okay, this is the... Here we go, I got it. Let's... I don't know, duplicates over here. Hang on, sorry. So this would be the MCU... post credits. That is related properties.
Good.
Reference is in the post credit scene of an MCU movie. You get a reference to or a quick appearance by some other character.
Yeah, I like that.
Which goes all the way back to
Iron Man?
Yeah, the first MCU movie where wait. Did Iron Man have something at the end?
Yeah, it had Nick Fury.
Yeah, there we go. That was the first one. Yeah. We're at the end of the very first Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. You get Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, and everyone that saw this just died. Like we all got the COVID vaccine and we all died in 2024. I think we were all supposed to be dead by. It was that, but many years earlier. That's when I knew they were going to do this right. And then they spent like a decade doing it right. And, then things took a turn.
I guess that, and then there was a lot of that in the universe's television shows, because that all makes like some references to important things that happened in the movies, and sometimes to important things that happened in other shows. Not as often.
Yeah, I remember in the Netflix Daredevil show, they kept referencing the incident, which was, aliens invading in the Avengers.
Hmm.
But that's all it was just stuff just mentioned. And I think like the related properties references are so like they're so easy that it's hard to think of one. Like anytime, in a comic, like a DC comic where, someone mentions Superman. It's like, oh, yeah, there we go. Like it's just,
Yeah.
it's not even a crossover really. It's just oh, yeah.
It's literally a reference to someone that exists in the same universe. So,
yeah. And I didn't put Crisis on. Did I mention Crisis on the show?
you mentioned it, but
Okay,
we
good.
didn't go through it. But
Oops.
and yeah, that's I had that listed under again in universe things, and like I mentioned Crisis, and uh that I had under for television. I had under same universe shows because like the Arrowverse and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. The Arrowverse. That's another one to put on here. The Arrowverse shows is so it started with Arrow, which is why it's called the Arrowverse.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did. Oh God, there were so many shows.
The Flash.
The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. I think Supergirl was in there.
Mm.
It was.
Uh,
I think those were the big ones. I think those are the big ones. I don't know if they're still running.
no, they're
I
not.
they made a Superman and Lois show.
Yeah, that was part of
But
that, I think.
yeah,
But yeah, they did. They would, they would do the sitcom spinoff thing, I think, where they would
yeah.
mention another thing or have another hero show up and then they get their own show. I assume I've never actually watched any of these.
I've seen a couple of them, but yeah, that's the general formula.
And then, occasionally they would do crossovers, which if you were trying to watch the like, later on streaming services, if you were trying to watch the Arrowverse shows in order, like there was a website that actually would tell you how to what like okay, you're in Arrow season whatever, episode whatever, watch this one and then the next one and then jump over to the Flash and season whatever, watch these two episodes and then go back to Arrow and watch this because that crosses over and then you go back to the Flash and that continues that. And they had a bunch of crossover stuff just like comics do, which is appropriate because they're comic books.
Right.
But they would have a bunch of like crossovers to encourage you to watch both shows, just like comics would do crossovers to encourage you to buy both books.
Yeah, it's kind of laying the blueprint for what became the Marvel Disney Plus shows and MCU to a certain extent of like, oh, you want to know the whole story? Follow the whole show,
But so I want to say the MCU was doing that, and then the Arrowverse
Chicken and egg.
sort of copied it, but on television.
Well, just because again, like Buffy and Angel did it a while before that. So, but the MCU And Arrowverse did it with more shows. That's why, like you said, you need a guide. You need somebody to be like, all right, this is how you watch these things.
But then they did a massive like crossover of not just all of these shows, but like every sort of DC property ever.
Right.
And it was called Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
Which was, according to my friends that actually watched it, mainly Bill, it was really cool.
I saw all of it, and I enjoyed it for the most part. There were a lot of times where I felt like the shows themselves, the episodes jumped around a lot because they're trying to cover so much. And without having read the comics, I felt like the shows themselves didn't do enough to explain what was happening and why. And Carrie and I are just watching. And we're like, okay, we've seen all of Lucifer, and it's really cool to see that actor there. That's amazing. But then it jumps to somebody else, and it's talking about the Anti-Monitor, and we don't know who that is. And so it was, as an outsider, it was enjoyable, and maybe we were not exactly the target audience, but I thought it did a pretty passable job.
That's fair. Yeah, and it was named Crisis on Infinite Earths after the first like mega crossover thing that DC did in 85, 86, something like that, where so there was the golden age of comics where they had the Flash with the with no mask and the winged helmet. And they had Green Lantern, who is Alan Scott, and he wore red, and his ring had a weakness to wood.
Wood?
Yeah. And then they did the Silver Age, where they had all new heroes, and there was the Flash that we all know with the mask and the red and the lightning bolt. And there was Green Lantern, who was part of the Green Lantern Corps, whose ring had a weakness to yellow. The color, don't ask. And that sort of thing. And they did a crossover between those two Flashes that they called, I think, Crisis on Multiple Earths or something like that. Mm-hmm. And anytime they would cross over like the Golden and Silver Age characters, they named it a Crisis. And it became just a naming convention in DC. And then they made a big multiverse.
Crisis at the food cart, yeah.
They had Earth 1 and Earth 2, and one of them was the old Silver Age, was the Silver Age, and one of them was the Golden Age. And one had the Justice League with Batman and Superman, and one had the Justice Society with, the Hour Man and Dr. Midnight, and it branched off, and they had Earth X, where Uncle Sam and the freedom fighters or whatever were fighting in a world where Nazi Germany won World War II. And there was Earth S, where all of the Captain Marvel, like now they call him Shazam because, Marvel Comics, but Captain Marvel that they had won the rights to or bought Fawcett Comics or something, they all lived on Earth S. And it was a great big mess. And they were like, you know what? No, we're going to put it all into one. And they did a great big company-wide crossover thing called Crisis on Infinite Earths that destroyed everything and just had one universe. And it was it became like a tradition every decade to wipe continuity and start over. The next one they did was in the 90s. It was called 0 Hour. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was awesome. Looking back, it was kind of dumb. But at the time, when I was a kid, it was awesome.
You're allowed
it started
to like
with issue 4 and counted down to 0. How cool is that?
See what they did there.
And then they rebooted reality several more times. I don't even know. I know they did the New 52 thing for a year or two, and then they Control-Z'd that. I don't even know. But, yeah. but because it was a company-wide crossover, I think they had like mandated that every book had to reference it somehow, which led to what we call the Red Sky crossovers. Because in Crisis on Infinite Earths, a bunch of weird dimensional stuff was going on, and the sky turned red. And in some of the books, the only reference to it was a character would go, "Oh man, the sky's red. That's probably not good." And then the story would continue. So that would be a related property reference.
That would.
You know what? I'm going to put that there. There we go. If you know, you know. And now you know, because I just explained it.
You did just tell us about it, yes.
That is as far over to the reference as you can get, because it was literally, huh, that's weird. And then moving on.
One that I don't know if it got mentioned. I feel like it may have. Agents of Shield.
We haven't mentioned it yet.
So that one is. It like if you look at it, it is tangentially related to the Marvel universe, but it's kind of like they recognize that there's the all the events are going on, but they never reference. They are just sort of doing their own thing, often sort of like a side world and everything.
I
So
mean,
it was
kind of.
Yeah, the important things were happening around them. I think there were so many missed opportunities. There weren't, like you said, there just weren't any direct. I think there was one time where Nick Fury showed up to tell someone something important.
He showed
Besides
up
that,
he showed up at the end of the first season
yeah,
for the season finale. Here's the thing. This one's a bit difficult because for the first couple seasons you could clearly tell that the things were happening around them. Like right after one of the first things they had was after the events of Thor: The Dark World. The team is in England, like just cleaning up
looking at what's
debris.
going on.
Yeah, and then the huge one was after Winter Soldier. This actually ran at the same time basically because it was like, oh, oops, Hydra is in Shield, and that was probably the most direct link. And at that point, I would say they were not even a crossover; it was one kind of extended event. And
But
then you
then
start
after
to
that, like
then it
I
went
watched
down.
the second season, and it was just kind of like, yeah, we're just not in any way we're just sort of doing our own thing,
yeah, it was
Yeah,
almost completely separate.
and we don't, there's no
and then
direction, there's no
there
correlation, no nothing.
not exactly because again at the end of the second season Coulson is the one that brings the helicarrier out of retirement, and it's the one that
They
everybody
use it
is
end of
at
Ultron.
end of Ultron when they're like, "Oh, where's that helicarrier coming from?" to like get all these civilians onto. There you go. But then over time, it becomes less and less, and the big thing is the show kept going after Endgame for another 2 seasons, and there's no reference to the blip. And I think at that point, the creators came out and said, actually, this is happening in an alternate universe. And I'm like, okay. Because I kept waiting for them to reference,
Yeah,
hey, half the population is dead. And they
Well, I
didn't.
think that
at a
was a
certain point, they
band-aid
were.
because they didn't have any sort of foreknowledge of what the MCU was doing. Because these things
Not
take time to
enough.
produce, and they didn't
Yeah.
want that many people outside of the production crew of like the Infinity War to know the end. So they just
Mhm.
didn't tell the other show. And the other show,
Yeah,
when people were like, "Hey, how come you haven't mentioned this?" They were like, "Uh."
Yeah. Again, I think
and it
the
was also
notable
doing a lot
exception,
more work to try to set up the Inhumans.
yeah, they did a lot of heavy lifting for Inhumans, and then Inhumans the show, um,
Nobody cared.
It
nobody
was not.
cared, and it was like half a season, right? So, I will again. The big exception to the lack of coordination is Winter Soldier. They clearly planned that all season long, with certain characters turning out to be Hydra agents, and then they were like, "Hey, we did a neat thing," and then never again. Yeah. So I don't know where you put Agents of Shield on this.
I was thinking like related properties, but more of a reference.
It's absolutely related, 100% related, because it's the same franchise, but somewhere between reference and simple. Maybe simple.
Yeah.
So like,
Chewy, if you give us a rating system, we will argue
so
over it.
like, sort of
Yeah.
like crossing the
Yeah.
line here.
A
Yeah.
little bit, yeah.
Because like you could break this up by season. Yeah.
A
like
little bit.
Yeah.
like latter day Agents of Shield would be over here,
Mhm.
and early day Agents of Shield would be
Um,
like
like,
here.
yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
we'll just sort of straddle the line like that.
So another one on my list was Kingdom Hearts.
Oh
Yep.
God, did I not? I didn't put that on here yet.
Not yet. We
Mm-mm.
hadn't talked about it. There were multiple that we discussed pre-show, so if you're thinking of it, that's why.
So where Kingdom Hearts is the most unrelated properties
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
because like the original Kingdom Hearts was pitched as Disney and Final Fantasy, and everybody went, "Excuse me," but that's absolutely a full mashup.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say that's definitely a full mashup.
It goes like in this corner.
You have
But then
essentially a Final Fantasy created character whose party members are Donald and Goofy.
It's such a dumb idea. Like it shouldn't work.
yeah.
I remember when they announced it, I'm like, I'm not playing this. This sounds just ridiculous. And then it came out and was real well reviewed. And, you know, I got it and played it. And I was like, damn it. I hate that this was good. And then it jumped the shark immediately.
Because it at the beginning it was just that. It was just, hey, Final Fantasy meets Disney. And there's a little bit of lore there, but it's really just to kind of keep the story going. But over time, it has relied less and less on those two, especially Final Fantasy. It still does a ton with the Disney worlds and properties because that's a big draw, but they do less and less with Final Fantasy. In fact, in Kingdom Hearts 3, there were no Final Fantasy characters. They did release DLC that
That briefly
brings
had
them
them.
back. Yeah, but otherwise, and some people are upset by that, and I'm like, hey, I mean, if you enjoyed this for a lot of people, I think it was a springboard to get them into the series. But now they are fully invested in their own lore, and it just kind of happens that Donald and Goofy and Mickey are there. Because now you think about who's got more characters, that show up regularly, and if you think about Kyrie and Riku and Axel and all the other Organization 13 and da 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 da, over time they've built up so many. So
Yeah.
But releasing every new game on a different platform and then not having any way to like explain, like when I played Kingdom Hearts 1 and then I played Kingdom Hearts 2, and if you've ever done that, it's like, what in the I can't say on this show is going on.
yeah, yeah, because I did the same thing without playing
Chain of Memories.
Chain of Memories in the middle. Honestly, it was kind of a unique experience. It definitely added to the sense of like, because Sora didn't know what was going on either. It was unintentionally kind of cool. It was confusing, but I was okay with that.
Yeah, I already had no idea about what was happening during the story in Kingdom Hearts 1 because I didn't stop and read all the journal entries, which is weird for me. The only thing I knew about the story was like go to the next area to kick the bad guy's ass. So when it got to the end, it's
Hell
like,
yeah.
behold, Kingdom Hearts. I'm like, what? So I
The
was
least
already
Mike has
primed.
ever miked.
Yeah, I was already primed for confusion when Kingdom Hearts 2 started up, so I was good to go.
So where does this fit?
Well, Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah,
Oh, bottom right corner. It is the
bottom
most
right corner.
unrelated properties, and it is a big ass mashup.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. Okay.
We've got all four corners covered at least.
Mm-hmm.
So I had under novels. Who here has read Stephen King?
Oh God,
Like
Yeah,
are you about to Dark Tower us?
well, yes, because it's all connected. Well, not all of it. I think this falls under related properties reference because it's all by the same guy. But for those that aren't aware, Stephen King, you probably have heard the name Stephen King. He has written so many books. I'm not even gonna Google it. He's written like a gajillion, and most of them are completely unrelated. And most of them are horror. Some of them are fantasy. Some of them are cop dramas. But he's best known for horror. But they take place in a variety of different settings. But he
As long
has
as it's
one
Maine.
set, as long as it's Maine or sometimes New York, but mostly Maine. But he has one series of books that originally started as 7 books, and he added an 8th later, called The Dark Tower. And the theory with that is that this character is trying to reach the Dark Tower, which is essentially the pillar that holds up the world. And there's a multiverse, and there are, as he travels through these different worlds to try to get there, he finds references to a lot of Stephen King's other works, and there's references to other characters, and sometimes they come in and sometimes they don't. But the question for some of them is the order in which they were written, like how many entries in the Dark Tower are referencing his other books, and at what point do some of his other books reference the Dark Tower when someone in an unrelated book comes across the number 13? That's very significant to the Dark Tower, and you're like, aha. And again, the theory being it's all multiverse, and it's all connected through this central pillar. All the worlds are kind of different levels of the tower, but they're not, and it's weird, and it's worth your time. But the good news is you can enjoy his books without knowing anything about the Dark Tower, and you can enjoy the Dark Tower without knowing any of his other books. But when you're reading the Dark Tower series and you're like, hey, what's this thing called Pennywise? If you know the reference, you might go, hey, that's neat. So I would definitely put this under related properties, reference too simple, probably under MCU post credits and to the left of Agents of Shield, probably. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Wait, should that
and
be
again,
Dark
it's
Tower or
nice.
should that be just Stephen King?
Dark Tower's fine
Okay.
because it's all, yeah. And again, unlike some of the ones, you don't feel like you're missing anything if you don't know every reference. So, but it's absolutely crossovers within the man's own work.
Yeah, I recently watched a random YouTuber who's like, my top 10 books I've ever read, and one of his was The Stand, and he mentioned that The Stand, had a direct line to the Dark Tower, and I was like, don't most of his stuff have a direct line?
A, a lot of them. Sometimes it's even literally a throwaway line. So, and that's not everything is necessarily. I still think keep it as the Dark Tower, but I was reading one of his books he put out in 2020, and in that book, the at one point the characters are in the mountains north of Boulder, Colorado, and one of the characters tells another one, "Hey, you can go hiking up this ridge, and if you look over the ridge, you'll see where there used to be an old hotel called the
The
and
Overlook.
it's the name of the
Overlook.
yeah, the Overlook. But it's not there. It got burned down a long time ago. People say it was haunted." And when that character comes back from a jog, she's like, "I could have sworn I saw the hotel, but when I blinked, it was gone." And she starts laughing about it. And the person that told her about it was like, I'm not laughing. I think that you had an experience." And then it has nothing to do with the rest of the book at all. And if you've never heard or read The Shining, you'd be like, okay, ghost hotel, sure, whatever. But
Why not?
why not?
Yeah. I've just added one over on related properties, far, far to the left for references, and that's Pixar cameos. Because in every Pixar movie, there are references to the other Pixar movies.
Yep.
In the early days, it was a reference to the next Pixar movie, but you didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
When I found out about that, I freaked out slightly, but there's a bunch. And if nothing else, there's the Pizza Planet truck, which is referenced in Pizza Planet is referenced in so many of the early Pixar movies.
Yeah. Who's the actor from Cheers that plays
John
a voice in
Ratzenberger.
John Ratzenberg? And I like the part in, I think it was Cars, where they're watching a couple films, and it's like the Pixar films if they were set in cars, like the Abominable Snowman from Monsters Inc., but he's a car, and his character goes, "Wait a minute, these cheap a-holes are just using the same guy for all these voices," and it's John Ratzenberger. So
I think that was in the bloopers or something
I
back when
think
they
so,
did
yeah.
those.
Yeah.
Cliff Clavin.
The last one I have is Fallout.
What does
'Cause of
Fallout
all the-
reference?
Fallout has tons of references to random things in it, such as the Doctor Who reference in the first game,
Now,
which
is
I would
that
put
an
as the bottom left corner.
is that actually like crossover, or is that just like a literal throwaway sort of thing? I admit um I haven't played the game. It seemed to me from watching the show and from discussions we've had, a lot of the things that made like Nuke Cola are things that they just invented, right? But
Yeah. But in the original game, if you walk and walk and walk, eventually a TARDIS shows up, and as you get closer to it, it disappears. And also, you'll find a giant footprint in reference to Godzilla.
All right, I'm gonna put that on here
There
under
you
video
go,
game
Easter eggs.
Because what just happened to my unrelated properties? What? There we go.
yeah, video game skins and video game properties or video game skins and video game Easter eggs very close together.
Well, yeah, but video games love to drop in references to stuff. Like I've seen footage of the TARDIS popping up in the original Fallout, and I was immediately reminded of in the Wolverine game on I think it was the 360 era. There were several references just scattered in various levels in that, including the hatch from Lost and a bonfire from Dark Souls, I think was in the Wolverine game too. And even in Overwatch, there was a Dark Souls bonfire in one of the passages in one of the levels, just randomly for no reason. Was it a bonfire or was it the sword and the stone? There's some sword related thing in Wolverine. There were a bunch of these, like I said, just throughout the place, and I always thought it's fun, but video game designers just love that stuff, and it's never an in-universe thing. It's always something unrelated. I didn't watch the video, but I saw a YouTube thumbnail just earlier today of, you guys ever play Plants vs. Zombies?
I've heard of it, but never played it.
Oh, well.
I know about it.
There's a dude in there with a pot on his head. I think his name is Crazy Dave. He's the one who, I think he sells you the different plants to use or something. I can't remember now. It's been a very long time since I actually played Plants vs. Zombies. But there's some game that put him in it with a 3D model. Like, it's a dude wearing the white button-up shirt with the big crazy red beard and the pot on his head. With, because it was a YouTube thumbnail, it had them side by side, and then it had an arrow pointing from the original over to the 3D model with the words, "It's him!" And I was like, did we... And that's why I didn't watch that video, actually.
Thank you, the internet.
But yeah, Fallout, the early Fallout, the first two, I seem to remember them having several of the weird, like, references like that, but none of them are coming to mind, but I know I've heard of them. The TARDIS is one I can see. Oh, well. Oh, let's go to the Discord. There was a whole mess of stuff there. Here we go. Yep, spin-offs on sitcoms. Oh, Star Trek had a lot of nope. A lot of crossover episodes between shows.
Yeah, I almost didn't know how to count that. But I guess if we're talking about things that happen in the same universe but with different groups of characters, then yeah, it would count.
Yeah, like no, that's unrelated. That would go up here because they're very much related properties because they're the same thing. But like, there were a couple of Next Generation episodes that had that featured that featured Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
vice versa.
I think Deep Space Nine had something to do with Voyager. It says the person in the chat, who is this? Vi, said that Voyager started on DS9, and I was like, I didn't know that, but I didn't watch either of their shows. And then there's crazy. Oh, good lord, the one that I was gonna mention and then lead into the Laugh Olympics that I never did. The Flintstones meet the Jetsons.
The Jetsons. Oh yeah.
That was
classic.
That was crazy. Because here, they're separated. Like the Flintstones are far in the past, and the Jetsons are far in the future. Relative to us. And they actually met each other at some point. Where would that go? They're related properties, right? Mostly.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Extended
only in the fact that they're produced by the same production company.
Yeah. So
Hanna-Barbera.
It would sort of go like here-ish.
I mean, they're related properties in the same way that, and this is an example I was thinking about bringing up, in the same way that Transformers and G.I. Joe are related properties. Like, they're both Hasbro brands, but they're not necessarily in the same world, except for, there's been a ton of crossover comics between Transformers and G.I. Joe.
I would love to see Duke.
Apparently, at the end of the last Transformers movie, there was a G.I. Joe thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There was like a post-credits thing or something that hinted at GI Joe or mentioned GI Joe or something. I don't know. I haven't seen it. The last Transformers movie I watched was Bumblebee, and I think I missed the 2 before that. So, but I remember everybody freaking out over that. But okay, let's see here. Apparently, the character that Lisa Kudrow played in Mad About You appeared in an episode of Friends.
Yeah, more than one. She played Ursula, and she was Phoebe's twin sister, but she starred in like a porno and stuff. So,
But was that her character in Mad About You? Because I'm not talking about a
yes,
single actor playing multiple roles.
yeah, she played Ursula on Mad About You,
Oh,
and it
okay.
was revealed that Ursula was Phoebe's twin sister when she
Oh,
was on Friends. And there was an episode where people started stopping Phoebe in the street, especially men, and being like, "Hey, I'm a fan." And she's like, "Well, thank you." It turned out because she was being, uh, mistaken for her sister in her sister's adult role. So, yeah.
that's
Yep.
trippy.
That's everything you would think it was.
So, Vi also dropped a link here to what in the hell? Okay. So this is an article on Screen Rant. You know what? I'm just gonna copy that for you guys. Where are you guys? There you are.
Home. Oh, okay.
So, okay. Saint Elsewhere was a medical drama that lasted for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know this because I've never watched Saint Elsewhere, so spoilers, I guess. But apparently the end of the show, like the series finale, showed that the entire story took place in the mind of an autistic child named Tommy Westfall.
A twist.
That's even worse than the "it was all a dream." Like, what?
Yeah, that's kind of a legendary twist.
Why would they do that?
But apparently characters from St. Elsewhere crossed over into other series. Like Homicide: Life on the Street, Cheers, which means Frasier. Let's see.
I mean,
St.
they're all
Elsewhere also had connections between MASH and their own series. Good Lord. So apparently this is one of those, all Pixar movies take place in the same universe things, except it's almost every show on what freaking network was this?
Was that NBC or something?
I don't know. I'm scanning this article and it's not mentioning. How does it not mention a network? Here we go. NBC. It's the next to last freaking paragraph. So, but the thumbnail here, or the article at the top, the title at the top says TV's biggest plot twist of all time accidentally created a shared universe with 400 shows. This article is extremely bare bones and does not go into any kind of detail, but that's okay. That's completely insane.
all of these shows are inside this one guy's head.
Yeah, one autistic kid, which, mind you, this was in, let me see, what did it say, 88? Yeah, which means uh, their idea of an autistic kid in '88 was probably not anywhere remotely accurate.
Probably not.
So, okay, well, that was a fun little thing to put in to throw me off there for a minute. Let's
On
see,
my
all
list.
kinds of the. Oh, Bill mentioned something.
Mhm.
The cross iteration crossovers.
Iteration crossovers. You're
Like,
gonna have to explain that to me.
like when the Ninja Turtles met the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, Turtles Forever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's like a whole separate genre, I think. But it's kind of
Yeah.
rare.
Yeah.
But
It's like a
something
mini Crisis on Infinite Earths thing.
Kinda, yeah. When some property's been around long enough that you have multiple iterations of the same characters, and they are distinct enough that meeting themselves would be like, whoa. I'm trying to think of another example of that.
Pretty
All the
sure
doctors from Doctor Who getting together.
yeah,
Go
something
ahead.
like that's happened.
sort of.
Yeah.
That's not different iterations though because that's all
I
been
know.
explained in the lore as the same doctor just regenerating.
Oh, I get that. I get it. I just think it's tough to come up with something that fits this. So
Spider-Verse stuff, sort of.
Spider
Power
Verse stuff.
Rangers?
That's a good one.
Power Rangers, like
Power
through the
Rangers
years.
did that a few times. Mhm.
Yeah. Where would you put stuff like this?
It's like the same thing.
Yeah, they're
Is
related
it a
properties.
crossover?
Some of the Power Rangers series are follow-ons to each other, so it's kind of like Star Trek.
I'm having trouble with this one. I'm not saying it doesn't count, but it's tough because to me it's almost like it is the same thing. So
Well, yeah, but it's different versions of the same
yeah.
thing.
Oh
Bill
no,
also
I get it, and I
mentioned-
think there's a distinction. I'm struggling with where to put it for that reason.
Yeah.
That's all.
I think since most of these are, individual things, like Turtles Forever was just one movie, that's probably
Yeah.
it goes in simple.
Yeah.
If I had to classify that one specifically. Bill also mentioned he really liked how in the Flash TV show, Barry's dad was played by the actor who played the Flash in the old like 90s version. He wasn't the Flash from that show, but it was the same actor, and he appreciated that sort of thing.
Yeah, like in most Superman shows, there's at least someone in there that played a role in a previous iteration.
Yeah, like the original Supergirl was in the Supergirl shows in some.
Right. And on Smallville,
Yeah.
Martha Kent was played by an actress who had been, I think, was Lana Lang in Superman 3 or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, and in Supergirl, the one on the CW, I think Dean Cain played Kara's adoptive human father. So
That's too bad.
at the time, it was neat.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
Chat says, didn't Jessica Fletcher appear in Magnum PI? And that would not surprise me if she did.
No.
Jessica Fletcher is the main character from Murder, She Wrote, for anyone that doesn't know.
I grew up on Murder, She Wrote, so.
I highly recommend everyone check out the channel Pushing Up Roses on YouTube, who has a very long-running YouTube series called That Time on Murder, She Wrote, where she just highlights... Because Murder, She Wrote ran for, a billion years.
Yeah.
It got weird sometimes.
I believe it. I had on my list under books, I had a lot of twisted fairy tales or reimagined fairy tales where, and this is not one book in particular, although I did pull out, there was a series that started with the book The Wishing Spell, and it was written by one of the guys who was on Glee. and it was really interesting. It ran for about 6 books, and Sam and I really liked it. But it's fairly typical. You see these stories where all the figures from Grimm's fairy tales have a shared universe sort of thing, but within a particular novel. The TV equivalent would be the show Once Upon a Time or that show Grimm,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, fairy tales were real. So I feel
Or
like they're,
the comic series Fables.
yes,
Hmm.
I feel like they're almost distinct enough to be, if they're related, they're like at the bottom of related, because yes, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty are both fairy tales, and they are both canonized by the Brothers Grimm. Their origins are completely different, so I would maybe put them under unrelated. But in terms of, I would say twisted fairy tales, or if you want to, if you, I think again the classic example for me, while I was trying to look at different mediums like books, I keep coming back to the show Once Upon a Time, so that might be the most recognizable. Combined fairy tales is good.
Yeah. Those, yeah,
I
these
I
are.
I like I
Where would that
liked
even
those
go?
for a long time, and then they became really popular, and all of a sudden everybody had to write a reimagined or twisted fairy tale, and it kind of got a bit exhausted.
Yeah, that would like that. I think most of these go under full on mashup because they're all massive worlds involving all of these different characters.
Yeah, I think so. I
There
think
was one,
I'm. Go ahead.
yeah, there was one literary example that I definitely wanted to bring up, just because it was neat, and I had forgotten about this until I was reminded while I was reading up. Um, so back when I think I was in elementary school, I read a novel by Jules Verne called "The Mysterious Island," and now having having refreshed myself on a summary of it, I'm like, wow, this was like a major. This had to have been a major inspiration for all kinds of things, from like Lost to Gilligan's Island. Um,
What?
but it's about the adventures of this group of people who get shipwrecked on this mysterious island, and they're able to build some rudimentary technology for themselves to make their lives easier, and they're trying to get off the island, but weird stuff happens, and there's also like pirates or raiders around, and then mysterious stuff is also happening that to help them. And they don't understand what's going on, and then at the end, they finally, you know, discover the truth behind some of the particularly mysterious things that have been going on. Remember, this is a Jules Verne novel. They find the Nautilus and a very old Captain Nemo hiding out on the island. That's Captain Nemo and the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, another Jules Verne novel,
Yeah.
and which I had also read because I was a prodigious reader when I was a kid. So that was a big like wow moment when I got to that part of the book that I had completely forgotten about over the years until I was reading up for stuff for our discussion tonight. Um, and it's funny because the stories aren't actually compatible because they're Verne is like very specific about the time period that each story happens in, in those novels. But like if you look at the dates, Mysterious Island and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea happen at roughly the same time, but because of how much older Captain Nemo is, Mysterious Island is also supposed to be like 15 or 16 years after the end of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So, yeah, he just kind of made a mistake there. Um, but yeah, Captain Nemo showing up at the end of Mysterious Island.
That is insane. Where would that even go?
Um, it's like a pared down version of what we were talking about with Dark Tower, because while I was reading about that, I also found out that there's a small connection to another Verne novel called The Castaways or something like that, that I haven't read and I'm not familiar with. So it's a little author created shared universe of things that don't seem to be related but end up being tangentially related.
Wow.
Okay.
So I guess that would go under like reference.
Or simple,
Yeah, maybe.
because it's not just like, oh my god, it's Captain Nemo, and then the story beat is over. It's like, no, he actually did some important things during the story, in the background.
Oh, so not like at the end, but okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That is a trip. I've never heard of that before. That's cool.
Hmm. I remember enjoying when I read it. Of course, I can't, right now remember who the translator was or anything, because it was originally written in French. I can't read French, just so everyone's
No.
clear. No.
Loser.
Hey guys, we've discovered Mike's fatal weakness.
Uh-oh.
Okay, going back to the Discord. Let's see here. Vi says the CSI shows once had a mystery that spanned all its spin-offs. Wonder how they
insane.
managed to do that.
Oh, you said CSI. That's still big. For some reason, I heard Law and Order. I wonder which one is bigger at this point.
Law and Order
Maybe
had
CSI.
crossovers between series here and there.
Apparently,
Wouldn't surprise me.
Abed from Community randomly appeared in the background of an episode of Cougar Town, completely unremarked upon. Well, then how did you know it was Abed?
And not just the actor.
And yeah, having not
Because,
watched either of these shows, I'll just shrug and go, huh.
I mean, the actor who played Abed was also in Winter Soldier, and nobody said, that's Abed.
The fact that The X-Files, the show, exists in the universe of Independence Day, while Independence Day, the movie, exists in the universe of The X-Files. That's pretty funny. Oh, Supernatural did a crossover with Scooby-Doo. Hey!
Hey.
Let's see. Some anime nonsense that I'm not even going to mention. Because I probably can't pronounce most of it.
I don't know if we have to put this on the list, but I did like how Super Mario RPG had a bunch of references, including, you could find Link and Samus resting in various inns.
Yep.
Not to mention the whole Kulex thing is like he's an actual reject from Final Fantasy IV. But that was just more of a fun thing.
And it had a cross iteration thing, because in Booster's Tower you could go behind a pillar and come out and be 8-bit original NES Mario.
Yes, you could.
That is a related properties cameo thing, because Nintendo's good about that sort of thing on occasion.
Yeah. And we were talking about, well, what characters have been around long enough? And yeah, Mario is definitely fits the bill.
Oh, Mycroft mentioned back when Cartoon Network was still relatively new, because they had Cartoon Network was Hanna-Barbera, or they had the rights to Hanna-Barbera stuff or something. And they would use a bunch of old Hanna-Barbera stuff in the bumpers and promos, you remember?
Oh yeah, all the time.
And they would also use just all kinds of other cartoons too. But it was mostly Hanna-Barbera stuff. Those were a lot of fun. Ooh, does anyone remember? This is getting obscure. I think it was called the Scooby-Doo Project.
I'm not sure.
Does not ring a bell. Mike? I mean, you already said that. Dirk, you still awake?
Yeah, but I'm gonna head to bed soon.
The Scooby Doo project was it was a Cartoon Network thing that was Scooby Doo. It was a series of bumpers essentially. That were parodying the Blair Witch Project. You can find compilations of people putting them all together on YouTube. It is amazing.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
It looks like anywhere from 18 to 30 minutes worth
Mm-hmm.
of these, because it was like a Scooby-Doo project, I want to say week or weekend or something, from 1999. And I watched this, God, I don't know, sometime last year maybe. It is amazing. And really silly. Let's see, what else? Transformers and G.I. Joe, yup. Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four are supposedly all simultaneously in New York. And wait, an IDW Comics crossover event between various Hasbro toy licenses. Transformers and G.I. Joe, naturally crossover a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had, comics that were Transformers and G.I. Joe. But this one also had Rom the Space Knight, Micronauts, and Mask.
Well, really?
Micronauts.
And what's weird about that is Rom, Space Knight, and Micronauts were both like Marvel comics for a while that would show up in crossovers with Marvel stuff. So that's funny. But they weren't owned by Marvel. Oh my God, that brings me to Death's Head, which somebody, Latin brought up. So Death's Head is a robotic bounty hunter who has the weirdest canon ever. Death's Head started in hang on. I want to make sure I get this order right. No, Death's Head the Marvel comic. Sure. Okay, so Death's Head started in Marvel UK and was a supporting character in Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody hires him to kill the Galvatron, I think, or something. Oh, there was a bounty on Galvatron, so Death's Head goes out to get it. Blah, 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 whatever. Let's see. Prevented from escaping the scene by explosions, blah, 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 blah. Death's Head is forced through Unicron's time portal. And he bumps into the TARDIS. And has a confrontation with the Doctor in another Marvel UK comic series.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he bumped into the Doctor twice, I think. But then he ends up in the Marvel universe where he bumps into the Fantastic Four. And then Reed Richards sends him through time into the far future of 2020, where he bumps into the Iron Man of that era, Arno Stark.
That's a lot of bumping into.
He was then in the Marvel universe, like Marvel Comics universe, just as a character who was in the future and would occasionally pop up in present day. I have an old What If issue that's like, what if Death's Head 1 didn't die? Because Death's Head 1 got taken out by some creature named Minion, and ended up downloading his own mind into Minion and becoming Death's Head too. And they were like, what if he didn't die there and just teleported away instead? And there's a whole big thing with the Fantastic Four and various other characters being pulled from the future or from the past into the future to help take out Minion, and everybody dies because that's what happened in What If issues. Is, you know, you could tell the quality of a What If by the body count. And it was just a massive weird thing, and I loved it. But I did some looking into Death's Head. Like years later, I went through the comic box and found that my What Ifs and was reading through them. And I'm like, oh yeah, who even is this guy? And I looked him up, and I'm like, Transformers and Doctor Who? What? So he started off as a Transformers character, then he crossed over into Doctor Who, then he crossed over into Marvel and just stayed there. So it's not even a... The point is, I don't know where to put him. I don't even know if he goes on this anymore, because none of these were crossovers. That's just where he belonged at that time. But that was brought up in the Discord, and I was like, I have to talk about Death's Head, because... What? But anyway. So I think we've done a good job of populating our list here with all the random nonsense we could think of. What happens with... What's the point of crossovers? Like why are we even having this conversation? Like what are we even doing here? What are they even doing here?
There's a couple points to crossovers. The most obvious one is profit. Hey, and it's ironic. You know, something we hadn't even talked about is one of the original inspirations that I had for this. Chewy, what is that Vampire Survivor game where you're surviving vampires or something, and there's the cross Castlevania thing? What's it called?
Steve.
Okay, I don't remember the name of the game.
Oh, but... were you not making? It's called Vampire Survivors.
Oh, I hit it on the mark. I've never played it. I hit it on the mic. Being
silly.
I'm not. I couldn't be that silly if I. Well, I could be. But that was one of the inspirations, and not once did we mention like, hey, here's an indie game or something that's not as well known. Let's rely on a more well-known product or franchise to help get people to enjoy our game, right? So number one is profit, straight up. Two companies to get together, and they're like, hey, I hear you're doing this. Ooh, well, I hear you're doing this too. Let's get together. People like Kingdom Hearts. People like Disney. What if Kingdom Hearts? So profit. And then a secondary one, I think, is to bring to light a lesser-known franchise through the use of another one. Sometimes it's just because these things just work so well together. What's another crossover we didn't mention? Peanut butter and chocolate. You got some peanut butter in my chocolate and all that sort of stuff.
That was brought up in the Discord.
Sometimes these things just go together too well to just leave it alone. You mentioned Marvel vs. Capcom, and, you know, that was incredibly beloved until it wasn't. So, yeah.
Actually, I think you bringing up indie games reminded me. There's this whole culture of, like, the popular indie games from, let's say, the last 5 or 10 years, all showing up in each other's games. Like in Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, you can encounter a blue armored knight with horns that has a shovel that's just an enemy in one place. And one of the playable characters that was added later is Aurora from, well, this isn't even an indie game, the Ubisoft game Child of Light. But like Shovel Knight and Well, like let's take Balatro, which is a poker roguelike, right? It had crossover technically with other indie games in the form of what's it called? The Friends of Jimbo. Jimbo is the Joker, the character, and they're skins to put on your cards, like your face cards of various indie games, and like that's all it is. So you can have like Shovel Knight or 1,000 Times Resist or Vampire Survivors or there are so many, and I was trying to find the list, but I can't figure out where the hell it is.
Yeah.
But it's
So why do you think they do that then? Since you had asked the question before, if there's this trend that all the
in this case,
popular...
I get the feeling it's just because we can, because okay, so in Dead Cells, there's a Castlevania DLC, but you can also find references, like intentional references to multiple other indie games, like what's it called, Scully, or something like that. And I haven't played it in so long, but there are like 4 or 5 other indie games that just have like weapons and armor pieces and whatnot that are straight from these other games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just like the indie game camaraderie thing in this particular case, because I don't think any of them are gonna drive people to try out the other games. At least it didn't work on me, but I don't know, like having characters from 1,000 Times Resist on your face cards in Balatro, I don't think is gonna make you want to go play 1,000 Times Resist by itself, unless it's just to draw hype to make people go, ooh, I've never heard of this. What is it? I did look up some stuff when I got, a new Friends of Jimbo update. This is characters from like Divinity Original Sin 2. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Oh, that's by Larian, the company that did Baldur's Gate 3. Oh, that's cool. So now that's like in my head and I'm aware of it. So that's probably it. Because they're indie games, they don't have the money of the giant AAA marketing machine behind them. Yeah. So they rely on this, like, let's all join hands and help each other out type of thing.
Camaraderie.
Yeah, well, also that, and it's like word of mouth marketing, but it's in other games instead of just in people talking, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because this is how we communicate now. And this is how developers would certainly communicate.
I went off on that tangent because when Brian mentioned indie games, I was like, I was going to mention all of this.
Well,
and I completely forgot to.
We focused a lot on filling out the list, and I know Dirk has to go because it's late, but like the whole, like, so where does this leave us? And I had also asked the question, are we at that saturation point? And I think I answered it earlier. I'm like, maybe, because I think for some people it feels like it's too much. There is a movie, and I don't remember the name of it, but it touches on a lot of different themes. It has Topher Grace in it, and it has Scarlett Johansson. And Topher is this really young executive who has just been promoted to take over this essentially Sports Illustrated magazine. And the people that work under him are all these people that have been doing this for like 30 years, people that ordinarily would be getting ready to retire, but with the economy being terrible, they can't. And it's this generational issue that they're having.
In Good Company, is that it?
In Good Company, I think so. And there's a scene toward the end. Spoiler alert, but the movie came out like more years ago than I want to count. Okay, so 22 years ago. where the executive, the CEO shows up, and his whole thing is like cross brand connection, and he's talking about how we're gonna synergize and do all this stuff. He's using all these buzzwords, and the guy that's been at the company forever says, "I'm sorry, what is the connection of toothpaste and our magazine? What is the connection between this rapper that you got us tickets to see earlier and like women's bra sizes or whatever?" And the CEO doesn't have an answer. He just says, "That's for you to find out." And he like leaves really quickly. And the whole point was like, at what point are these things, we're just promoting these things because all the companies are in bed together? That's kind of the cynical answer. However, if customers enjoy it, if we're still enjoying smashing our action figures together and being like, "Yeah, Mario punched Link across the face," we're probably still gonna keep doing it, right? And there are some that are done well. What we didn't talk about with a lot of this, or with all of them, is the quality of them. But even where I got thinking about Clue, and there's a million versions of Clue, there's a million versions of Monopoly. You can walk into like your local hobby store and there might be like Monopoly, but it's in your hometown, right?
Yeah.
But there's some versions of these that are done really well. I own a Super Mario Brothers version of Monopoly where it introduces like the Koopalings as bosses, and you have a coin system, and it's kind of a neat. Do I want to play regular Monopoly, or do I want to play this one? So it can be done well, and I think the question is, do we support it as long as we keep enjoying it? That was my little rant. What do you guys think?
Let's not all go at once now.
Um,
Sounds good.
yeah, I was like,
Nailed it.
First try. Woo!
Yeah, I don't like the concept of, are there too many, crossovers? That's a non-starter, because like, no, like what does that even mean? There are an infinite number of properties and an infinite number of other properties, and like having things bump into each other in some time or another. No, like there are gonna be people who are like, oh, like we didn't even mention the MCU on the whole, because
mhm.
it's not even a crossover at this point. It's its own like entity.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like there are people who are sick of that. And personally, I'm also sick of the idea of cinematic universes. Like, everybody saw Marvel do it so well, and they were all in a rush to copy it without thinking about quality. They're just like, the DC movies were just crap because they were like, let's just get to the crossover. Hurry up, do it. Whereas it took Marvel multiple years to get to Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dark Universe was announced as its own big thing and died immediately because the first movie wasn't good, and so no one cared.
Dracula Untold was better than people gave it credit for, but they never should have put all their hopes on it.
I don't even know what that is. I was talking about The Mummy, the
Oh,
Tom Cruise one.
jeez. Ugh.
That was
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
of
no.
the big, like, this is going to be the Dark Universe, and the marketing was all about it and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then it
Mhm.
came
And
out
they
and
tried to
everybody went,
market it. They tried to
Before you
market
guys
it
keep going,
as
okay, hold on. Before you guys keep going, I've got to go. I got to get up at
Night,
4:30 in the morning.
well, why are
Good
you
night,
still
Dirk.
here?
I keep waiting for you guys to give me a minute.
There was
So,
dirt.
now I'm
coming
Brian
in.
did the long. Okay, what do you guys think? And there was like 10 seconds of silence.
Bye, Dirk. We love
Night,
you.
Dirk.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Good night.
We did give him a chance. So
Jackass. Type in the chat, hey guys, I gotta go, and one of us will see it and go, hey Dirk, you want to say anything before you go to bed?
He usually does. Anyway, let's not rag on him. He's not here anymore.
Well, that's when you rag on him.
I'll be going
Anyway,
pretty
keep
soon
going.
too, but not yet. Mike? What were you saying before Dirk had to go?
Who even knows at this point?
I don't know. I don't know if I was getting ready to say anything.
No, you were good.
What?
You were making a really good point.
Really?
I'm gonna have to listen to the episode later and see what it was you were saying.
I don't even
He
remember
got
talking.
like 3 words out. What?
yeah.
It was a very promising 3 words.
Oh my god. Oh, chat said there might be too many crossovers when it takes over the main theme. Yeah, like magic, of course, is the problem, but that's not. That's just like slapping other stuff on. I don't even know if the branding thing counts as a crossover. To be perfectly honest, like the Wheaties
Yeah, I don't
box
know.
and the Monopoly board. But we included it because it's more stuff to talk about. But like the universe is beyond stuff and magic. That's just corporate greed, like straight up. Like the fact that we have, and I ranted about this before, the fact that we have 7 standard legal sets coming out this year, and over half of them are not magic properties, is completely insane, and is a bad sign for the state of the game and the health of the game. And I've seen a lot of, anecdotally, I've seen a lot of people like posting on social media when someone's like, oh yeah, this new Magic set's coming out. And people be like, see, that's why I quit playing. And I'm like, oof.
Yeah, when references are just cheap, where it's like, oh, see what I did there, and that's it, then that's too much, Like if I see some kind of sci-fi or fantasy property make a passing reference to, Wayland Yutani, I'm like, okay, congratulations. And if it's just some kind of gimmicky promotional tie-in, which is probably why those couple things we mentioned earlier about like Steve Urkel having a cameo appearance on some other TV show, or there was this other thing that the TGIF lineup did one week where it was an episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch where there was like this time ball thing that Salem the cat ended up swallowing and running off with at the end of the episode, and it ended up affecting the other shows in the lineup that night. Boy Meets World, some show with a genie character, and another show called Teen Angel. Those last 2 didn't last very long. But yeah, it was like, okay, I get it. You did a funny thing. It's like, what was the real point of this?
And that was to try to entice people to go watch the other shows.
Yeah, to tune in. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I mean, taking it back to the comics thing, when you've got the Marvel this is why I stopped reading comics, actually, is because Marvel decided every year there would be some massive event that would cross over between everybody. And,
yeah, it became their like big summer thing or whatever it was.
And it was fine when it was just a book, like, the Infinity Gauntlet is one of my favorite stories ever. And it's a 6-issue miniseries, and then it's done. There were, for the characters that were central to it, there were crossovers in their books, but you didn't have to read them. It's for people that were reading them to entice them to go read Infinity Gauntlet, I'm guessing, more than the other way around. But then with like Infinity War, which was the next year's version, it crossed over. There was the miniseries, and then the crossovers were more important and fleshed out the story more rather than just being, oh, this is the thing that's happening. And then it turned into, well, let's just get rid of the miniseries entirely and have the story arc that goes across all these books and make you go buy all those books. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And like, don't get me wrong, I love like the Age of Apocalypse. I've just recently finished I finally picked up used the entire Age of Apocalypse story across several trades, and I've just finished reading all of those like just within the last week or so, and it's awesome. And back in the day I bought all of those books, which was 4 issues of every single X-Men title.
Wow.
Plus, 3 the 2 bookends, and then the other thing that showed where they're going from that point, and then a few other little related one-shots and whatnot. I was hard into the Age of Apocalypse, but it was still a self-contained story. Like, I didn't have to buy 4 issues of literally every book that Marvel put out, just the X-Men books. And their big events spiraled out of control right around then. Actually, was when it started to get ridiculous. Like, Onslaught was the next big one. And I still don't know what happened in Onslaught, because it broke out from just the X-Men out into the wider Marvel universe and had Avengers stuff and all of that. And I'm like, I don't even care anymore. It's too much to keep track of. Mm-hmm. And I think it's when it becomes, more than, it takes more effort than people are willing to put in. Like for the Arrowverse, for instance, like if you wanted to watch them all correctly, in serious quotes, then you needed to follow a guide. My parents just watched Arrow, and I was like, what did you guys do for the crossover episodes? And they were like, what do you mean? I went, where, like, there were stories where it collided with, the storyline from different shows, The Flash, and they were like, oh, is that what that was? Okay. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Did you guys follow what was going along? Yeah. Oh, well, never mind then. Are you going to go watch Flash now? Like, we tried, we didn't really like it. I'm like, oh. And like the completionist want to know what's happening part of me was like twitching. I'm like, how did you but like, that wasn't too much. And those shows ran for several seasons each, so like apparently it wasn't too much. So they what's the word, they were riding that edge of too much crossover and just enough. I think I'm just rambling at this point, but there is a line where enough is too much, and Marvel has long jumped over past that line, or Marvel Magic has long jumped past that line. I feel like that's why I stopped watching the Marvel shows too, actually, because I mean, I know it's not, because I just had life happening. Like, I just stopped watching shows in general. I didn't lose interest in Marvel and Star Wars at the same time, but I stopped watching all the shows and whatnot because there was just too much. And because I had real life stuff going on, I was like, well, I can just snip this out and not care. And I don't. I loved Loki. I still haven't seen Loki season 2, and probably never will.
It got really crazy. Even for them, it really did. So
that was my favorite part of Loki, though. But like, I don't know. I think when people feel like, you know, the crossover isn't a fun thing anymore. It's required, is where things start to get out of control. For me, at least, and a lot of people that I've seen, you know, comment on this sort of thing. But then, you know, like Kingdom Hearts is utterly ridiculous and has the most convoluted, pointlessly convoluted storyline imaginable. But no one cares because you can turn your brain off and just be a kid with a giant key running around with Donald and Goofy going to Disney worlds. And you just sort of zone out when lore happens.
And the gameplay, the combat is just so satisfying that you're like, yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So the fact that there's this giant like lore dump crossover nonsense going on, you can just sort of, it's there
Nod
if you want to engage with it.
like, yeah.
What?
Nod and smile.
Yeah, like it's there if you want to engage with it, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can just do other stuff.
Yep.
And then, like, looking at our list, I'm trying to... The only stuff on here that makes me go, is honestly the stuff in the unrelated properties reference.
Which is the far end, yeah.
Yeah, like the Monopoly boards and video game skins. You know, Fortnite is literally just... Fortnite is like if the... What are those stupid little plastic things with the vacant eyes and the big heads?
The Funko Pop?
Yeah, it's like if the Funko Pop factory just gained sentience. It would just be Fortnite. Because none of it matters. Like, you can play Fortnite without ever caring about any of that. It's just there to make money. It's for you to go, oh, that's whatever. Here's some V-Bucks or whatever the hell it's called in Fortnite. I think that's right. Which is fine, but like Fortnite that's what it's known for now. Like, it's not like playing Fortnite has become secondary to look at all of the stuff that Fortnite contains in, you know, the greater societal view of it. You know, to the people that play Fortnite, they still play Fortnite, but do people still play Fortnite? I assume they do.
Oh yeah,
I guess. I've never played it, so
yeah.
That doesn't mean other people don't.
Back when it first came out, you know, it was like a zombie wave survival game, and then PUBG got super huge, and they like sort of quickly threw in a 100-person what's it called? Battle Royale, thank you, mode that is now what Fortnite is. I don't even think it still has the remnants of its original version. That's why you could build stuff in Fortnite, was because originally it was a game of building defenses to fight off massive hordes of zombies. Did you know that?
No.
See? Because no one cared about that. Their throwaway
I just thought it was
mode,
a battle royale game with some bizarrely sophisticated construction mechanic in it.
Yeah. Their hastily thrown together mode to try to take advantage of PUBG's popularity exploded and became what it's known for now. It's crazy. But anyway, like I said, looking at the list here, which I still have on the screen for the people watching on YouTube, there's like all of these things are just like, oh, that's cool, or oh, you remember that? That was awesome. You know, like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie was terrible, but like I love it, and everyone remembers it.
Yeah.
And like Marvel vs. Capcom is one of the most beloved fighting game things ever. And we wouldn't have sitcoms if we didn't have sitcom spin-offs.
It's true.
But yeah, so much of this is fun because like even the stuff that was done, just to draw viewers or gain ratings for a week or whatever, it was still the people that ended up pulling it off were by and large having fun with it. So I think what I'm getting at here is if something is well done and like has a soul to it, it's probably fine. If the people that are making it or whatever enjoy what they're doing and really want to do it, and it's not a obvious corporate mandate, it's probably going to be good. Like even the Magic stuff, the sets that were obviously made by people that care, people still look fondly on, like, and then there's the Spider-Man stuff. And the fake not Spider-Man stuff on Arena.
Yeah.
You guys are getting more of that this year. Are you looking forward to it?
No.
If it's actually good.
I'm just gonna say no.
That was horrible. Just seeing everything, seeing all the cards with the generic phoned in fantasy skin on made me realize how uninteresting so much of the design was.
And you know what's really bad is we were going over the cards before, and I was like, "This is cool." And Chewy was talking about the lore of some of the characters, and then because I haven't played any paper at all, and I've only really seen these cards on Arena, I don't even connect the two.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Hasbro executives.
yeah, yeah.
Oh well. Should we stop there?
I think so.
So all of you out there, be sure to let us know somewhere, the Discord or in the comments, or hey, send us an email. Hey, remember that? That's still a thing. We still have that email address. Dorks at themanapool.com. Let us know what are some of the crossovers that we didn't touch on that you either really loved or really hated. Oh, you guys remember that? Well, you probably not, but there's the cinematic masterpiece of oh no, hang on, let me make sure I don't screw up the proper name of Bambi meets Godzilla.
Bambi.
Yeah.
Is that crummy little cartoon?
Yep. It's 2 minutes long, and it's a deer getting smashed by a giant reptilian foot. Actually, the YouTube link shows 1:39.
I didn't even think it was that long.
That is I think most of it is credits and title screen. But it's a black and white animated short student film from 1969 by Marv Newland. That is the ultimate crossover right there. All right then, so dorks, how about some final thoughts?
I'm gonna be heading out. I've been trying to make it through this last part. I'm running on fumes as well. I will say that I've enjoyed this conversation. I mentioned to these guys I've been making my way through Dragon Quest 3 2D HD remake. I think I got the title right this time. And I've really enjoyed it,
It's HD
and I'm
2D.
on the dagnabbit. So close. But anyway, I am almost through the post game, and we purchased the HD 2D remake of 1 and 2 later, so I'm looking forward to starting that. But otherwise, I'm doing all right. I'm just a little tired. It's been a crazy week despite court being shut down due to snow, because we actually got snow in North Carolina, like actual, not small amounts of snow. And it's been fun, but it's also been crazy. So, again, I had a wonderful time having these conversations with these guys, but I'm about to fall asleep in my chair. So you guys have a wonderful night. Thank everybody for listening or following along or watching on the YouTubes and whatnot. And take care. Hope everyone is doing well.
Nice. Well, good night, B. I do. Before Mike does his, I do want to remind everyone, hey, you can go to patreon.com/themanapool to become a lifeguard. Odds and ends and sponsorship shout out. You know the deal. I do this every week. And if you don't know the deal, go to patreon.com/themanapool and find out. I'm slowly getting caught up on the odds and ends again. I just posted another one a couple days ago, and I've got one more that I've listened through and need to post. Yeah, but let me thank our mythic lifeguards in this order, I guess. Sure. Al, ALK Alters, Andrew Odie, Jake Jansons, Jason Doan, Jason Kaus, Casey, Kim Ho, Michael, Scuzzo, Team You Hellos How Are You, and Violet in the Lilies. All up in the lilies. Just drowning in lilies. And to all of our other lifeguards at every tier and everyone who listens or has subscribed on Twitch or whatever. We love you. Yay. So what about you, Mike? Face.
It was pretty fun reading up on stuff for this, just because of the sheer number of things I got reminded of that I hadn't thought about in a long time. You know, I mentioned Mysterious Island, but also other things like USMC Gomer Pyle, which was a spinoff of the Andy Griffith Show, or like Three's Company and the Ropers, which spun off from it. It's like that was odd.
I've never even heard of the Ropers.
Yeah, it was a very short-lived spinoff of Three Companies that followed Mr. and Mrs. Roper, and I saw a couple episodes on TV, and I'm like, it was fine, but it was obvious to me. It's like, yeah, you can't make a whole series out of this. You're gonna run out of material really fast until you just start rehashing other sitcoms that have been already done to death.
Wasn't the Jeffersons a spinoff?
The Jeffersons was a spinoff of.
It was All in the Family, wasn't it?
All in the Family, yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
I was like, it was some
George
sort of
Jefferson.
show with a racist. Which one?
Yeah, George Jefferson was a side character on All in the Family, and that ended up becoming its own show, and a lasting one too.
Yeah.
Some things it's hard to tell whether to consider them true, like spin-offs, or like just the result of contract disputes. Like Sanford and Son had two different follow-on series that was kind of odd. But yeah, it's I wouldn't have stopped to think about how interconnected some of these things were. I mean, I knew some of them were, but how much more that they were until, getting reminded of it by reading into the details. So that's pretty neat.
Nice. I got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I spent most of my time trying to work out how to categorize all of this instead of actually looking into much of it. And pretty much everything. Yeah, I mentioned everything that I had thought about, except for, the indie game thing, which I completely neglected until the end. Because I didn't write it down. That's my problem. It is nice in this era of all of these, crossovers that are because of, juggernauts of marketing and money and all that, to see all of, to see Shovel Knight pop up in another indie game because, why not? And like to see like Hollow Knight's nail as a weapon in Dead Cells. That's another one that I couldn't remember. Was just it's just a nice touch. Like, oh yeah. Because I mean, sure, it was a business decision, but it's also, a bunch of smaller, underdogs uniting so that all of the, the high tide lifts all the ships. Feels good, man.
Yeah.
As for me, I don't even know. I've just been out driving around on the ice and snow, delivering food to people. Finally played more Shinobi Art of Vengeance, and it's really good.
Oh, good.
I'm still tripped out that it seems to be. I think I like it more than the new Ninja Gaiden, which I think I said on a previous episode. If you told 15-year-old Chewy that I would like a Shinobi game more than a Ninja Gaiden game, I probably would have punched me. I went to see The Parents yesterday.
Right.
The old man was playing some internet Texas Hold'em when I got there, and I was like, you know what? I thought of you a few days ago. He's like, why? And I was like, because I booted up Yakuza 0 and went to the casino, and he goes, I don't know what any of that means. And I said, right, you don't. Let me explain. And I explained the concept of the Yakuza series to the parents, while they just looked at me like I was speaking gibberish. Not because they didn't understand what I was saying. Once I explained, that's the right way to pronounce Yakuza. He was like, the Japanese mafia? I was like, yeah, there you go. He went, oh, okay. But I went down the list of all of the side activities.
So it was because you were speaking gibberish.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, so, it's a beat 'em up. You run around in 3 dimensions, like Mario 64. And he went, okay. And the main story, it's about, honor and betrayal and loyalty and brotherhood and all of that. And he goes, I was like, and it's po-faced, it's dead serious. And they were like, okay. I said, and then the side stories are completely insane. And I told him about the schoolgirl who had set up a business with various other girls in her class, selling their panties to weirdos. And the parents both did a double take. They, excuse me? And I went, exactly. Yes, that's what I said. And they were like, okay. And then I just went down the list of all of the other stuff. I was like, there's an entire real estate management game that's massive, and an entire hostess club management game that's massive, that both could be games in their own right, but they're just side activities in this. And they were like, what's and then I had to explain what a hostess club was. It's like a brothel, but without the sex. And they were like, okay, got it. And then I was like, and then there's dancing at the disco. That's a rhythm game. There's what's the word? Karaoke. That's a different rhythm game. They're like, okay. I'm like, you can go to the phone club and the telephone club and try to meet girls. And they were like, what? I'm like, don't ask. You remember Party Lines? And they went, yeah. I was like, it's a business set up around that. And they went, that's weird. I was like, that's Japan. I was like, you can race slot cars? And the old man went, how is that? You just pull a button. I'm like, oh, you can customize the car in so many different ways, and the tracks are all different, and you need to make different. He was like, oh. I was like, and you can bet on scantily clad women catfighting? And they both went, excuse me? And I was like, that's what I said. I was like, or you can play old Sega arcade games, or you can play poker, or blackjack, or baccarat, or roulette. And the old man was like, hey, I understood those words. And I was like, you won't understand these. You can play Chohan, or Silo, or Koi Koi, or Oichikabu. And he goes, what? I'm like, they're Japanese gambling games that use tiles instead of cards. And he went, gotcha. I was like, you can play darts, you can play pool, you could go to the batting center, you could go bowling, you could play shogi, which is like Japanese chess. And he went, okay. It's like, you can play mahjong, you can go fishing. I think that's everything. And he went, and this is one game? Yes, it is. And I looked up how much time I had spent in Yakuza 0, which at this point is 187.4 hours. And he went, and you have to do all of that? I went, you don't have to do any of it. And he said, what? Said, you could just run through the main story and beat up mafia dudes, and it's very serious, and then you go home, and it's and yeah. And he was like, where do you find these games? I'm like, this was published by Sega, and there are like 12 or 15 or something of these games. And it's like something in his brain broke. He just went, uh-huh. I was like, recently they stopped being beat 'em ups and became turn based. And he's like, you know what? Nope, I'm out. I was like, that's cool. I get it. I neglected to mention the entire side game of, I forgot what it's called, but you remember Pokemon Snap?
Yes.
It's like Pokemon Snap, except you're taking pictures of dudes in Speedos that pop up all throughout the map, and you're trying to get the most and best pictures of them all to get a high score. I didn't tell him about that one. I only know about it because a couple of YouTube channels I watch, Outside Xbox and Outside Extra, every year they do a Christmas like competition, and the last 2 years that mode, getting a high score in that mode has been one of the competitions that they do. So that's the only reason I know about it.
Right.
But not even seeing it, just describing Yakuza 0 almost broke my parents. And you know what? That makes me happy. It makes me want to boot up Yakuza Kiwami and play it. Because I played 0 to start the series and just never picked it back up.
Mm-hmm.
because I'm bad at this game. Not Yakuza. I'm bad at finishing things that I start. On that note, I have been collecting footage still of all of the. I'm still on the Ninja Gaiden games. I had some emulation problems with Launchbox, but I eventually found a workaround for it, and so I could go back to collecting footage. I played to collect footage. I played the other Ninja Gaiden games that I'd never played, like the unreleased Genesis one and the Game Gear and the really, really bad arcade game. These, man, it is a trip. How if you only know like the NES and then the Xbox Ninja Gaiden games, which were the popular, important ones. There's so much that's out there. It's weird.
Does the Game Gear one have like 4 or 5 different colored ninjas with like different special powers? And it's a Metroidvania-ish thing? Or?
No.
Okay. I wonder what that was that I played on my friend's Game Gear one time way back when I was a kid. It made a strong impression on me. It was fun.
Could have been one of the Game Gear Shinobis. There were 2 of those.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, I think one of those does have multiple colored ninjas.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might have been a Shinobi. Once I get to those, I haven't started the Shinobis yet, but once I get to those, I'll let you know.
Cool.
The Game Gear Ninja Gaiden is not good. It is super blocky, and it's bad. It's real bad. It's super linear too. Like you just run forward and occasionally jump and swipe, and your sword swipes in front of you, but it hits this giant area around you because otherwise you would just die. I did not enjoy it at all. Just like the arcade game, I didn't even bother to get past the first level on it because it's not good. It's like the worst beat 'em up you've ever played. No, worse than that one. But anyway. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. And streaming, occasionally Shinobi. Nobody has come to any of the Shinobi streams, so I'm probably going to stop streaming that and start something else. I got a key for, what is this game? Escape from Ever After. I don't know how. There was just an email that was like, hey, you want a key? Click here. And I clicked here and it was like, here's your key. And I went, okay. So I have Escape from Ever After, which is like a Paper Mario the 1,000-Year Door type of game that is apparently super anti-capitalist and funny, which, Paper Mario, it's going to be funny. Right. So I might start streaming that. I don't know. Usually I get these emails that are like, hey, this game is coming soon. If you want a code, then let us know. And I'm like, you're not going to give me a code. Like 4 people come to my streams. That's a waste of a game. But this one was like, you want a code? Here's a code. Have a code. And I clicked on it. It's like, code. I was like, thank you? Is this a mistake? Don't know what list I'm on, but apparently they're going to market it by just getting everybody a copy of it to play on stream. Yahtzee seemed to like it, and Yahtzee doesn't like anything.
Oh, well.
That's not true. Yahtzee likes lots of stuff. Anyway. With that, though, we've been going for far too long, so I'm going to stop now. So I forgot we were still recording the show. So, yeah. With that, we'll be done. So this has been the Manapool number 745. Good Lord. Thank you all so very much for joining us. And who would you want to cross over with us? Let us know.